Hello and welcome back. This is a, I don't know, bonus edition of my usual. I usually do an acquisitions video of books and decks and sticks and random other things about once a month. And this is an extra one because I ended up with ridiculous numbers of books this month, mostly from used bookshops and little free libraries. And I need to get my living room more organized. I just have a little apartment and my living room is overrun by crafting things. So I need more surface area cleared. So, bonus haul video. The first thing, I'm gonna do it in slightly different order because, for no reason in particular, just because. So some of the things that I always bring home treasures from walks, which is why I need pockets in women's pants, people. Pockets. They're important. So some of the things I got were, ouch, they're a bit pokey, these acorns, which I believe, I might have to turn the overhead light on. All right, let's try this again. I might have some glare later on the books, but oh well, the days are getting too short to film at convenient times because it's Canada in the winter. So anyway, I brought home some pine cones, which I think are lodgepole pine cones, which keep poking me. And then I brought home, whoops, as it falls off my shelf again. Come on, buddy. There we go. Bits of a couple of poplar trees. So there are a lot of balsam poplar and cottonwood that grow in my area, and I'm not very good at telling which is which. But there were a couple of poplar trees that got cut down. So these, you can see, were cut. And then these are just the bits that ended up on the grass that I came home with. This actually has a hole that comes out there and another little hole there. So I may attach this to weaving somehow. If it was made by a beetle, the beetle is no longer there. It's long gone. I have cleaned all of this, even though I'm getting little flaky bits all over me. They're all sanitized. This may also get attached to a bit of weaving. We shall see. But I really like the patterning and the colors in it. So those are from, I believe, some cottonwood trees. These are also from some cottonwood or poplar trees that died because, so the city of Calgary is terrible. I mean, really terrible for topping trees, like just lobbing the tops off of trees, which is the worst possible way of pruning a tree. So what has happened is there are a couple of trees, maybe I'll insert a photo here, that were topped in a park near me. And then I think they must have been weakened by infection or something. So they got sun scald on the side where the outer bark peeled away. And so this is some of the outer bark that is peeled away. Which again just has such fascinating patterning. These were, which were the pieces that were attached to each other. Somehow this was, at one point, these were attached. Somehow. And then they've come apart when I brought them home. But yeah, they're bits of that tree that has died because the city of Calgary is terrible at plants, I think. Anyway, it's getting better, but it's not great. This is another fun piece that I might put some sort of weaving, or if I end up doing enough slow stitching or something, I might put something on here because it's just fun. I have absolutely no idea how this happened, if it got cut off somehow. It's got some, whoops, lichens that are all dried out now, of course, but yeah, just a fun shape. And this one had fun patterning, and I don't know if this is from a fungus or if this is just the natural patterning of, I have no idea what kind of tree this is from because the bark was gone and I'm terrible at, like, I can't just look at the wood of a tree and tell you what tree it came from. But it has all these like funny polka dots, so don't know what that's about, but it came home with me. This is just a fun stick that I might hang something on. Some more bark, which also has some really fun patterning on the inside. And then, oh, there's another little bit of, this is a bit of an ash tree, which I should keep separate from the poplars before I get them mixed up. And then I was down by the river, and this is a willow catkin. I'm not sure which kind of willow, white willow or peach something willow. I can't remember. And I'm only just learning how to tell which tree is which in the winter without the leaves. Usually I need the leaves to tell me what's what. But down by the river, I found a lovely purple rock because I cannot turn down anything purple. This is just a really cool rock, and I'm a dork. I do realize that, but I don't care. This is another cool patterning in this rock. This is just weird. I can't for the life of me tell what happened to this rock to make it like this, but it's interesting. This is a stripy black rock. This is a peachy pink one. I can't tell if these are focusing, so hopefully they're focusing. And then an AirPod shaped rock, which has been smoothed out by the river. And so yeah, these all came home with me. Okay, so next up are some books, and some of these I got from a free little free library, whichever way it goes. And some of them, the laundry room in the basement of my apartment has ended up sort of as a free little library on one of the tables there. So some of these I've gotten from that as well. So this is a book by a Scottish author that won the Booker Prize a few years ago that I never read. I'd considered reading it and then just sort of forgot about it. So I thought maybe I'll give that a go. Practical Magic, which I've never seen the movie, but you know, I'm the sort of person who tries to read the book before I see the movie. So we'll see how that goes. Daphne du Maurier, because it's Goth Lit November and also Daphne du Maurier. And I enjoy her books, at least the ones I've read so far, so curious about that one. Then there are a couple of books on really specific Buddhist things. This one is Buddhism and Animal Rights, The Great Compassion. And I'm not vegetarian or vegan and probably never will be, but I'm curious what it says. And then this one is Lack and Transcendence, The Problem of Death and Life in Psychotherapy, Existentialism, and Buddhism. Which I realize is not a title for everybody, but I'm curious about it. So, this one is a French book that's probably still, oh, it's even got formulas in it, too advanced for me. But I like reading books about physics sometimes, and so I thought I'd add this to my collection for the time being. And see if I ever end up in a place where my French is good enough that I can muddle my way through a physics book in French. So that's that. And then The Brothers Grimm, 101 Fairy Tales. This is one of those faux leather, very pretty, I don't know what the company is, Word Cloud Classic. Okay, it's cute. So that's why I got that. And I like folklore and fairy tales, so that'll be fun. And then the last book from the free little library selection is this Mandala Magic Amazing Mandalas to Color, which I don't know if I'll keep this. I might put it back in the free little library. But I thought if I do color a few of them, I might use them in collages or something. Not really sure. But this one was already colored by somebody. So fine. Anyway, that's that. It seems like it might have fun possibilities. And then I went to an event, a bookish event, and then a friend of mine gave me this, Empty Spaces by Jordan Abel, and I loved his last book, so I'm very curious about this one. So the event was with Wab Gejig Rice, and the way he described this book was really intriguing, with very little dialogue but very land-based, and I thought, okay. I'm not exactly a good conversationalist, so I don't feel like I need a lot of dialogue in a book of fiction, and I'm trying to be more in a better relationship with the land, so this one seemed really interesting to me, and I loved his last book, which was a bit experimental, and I don't usually like experimental books, but loved that one. Okay, so the next books I got from a used bookstore. So this is Cunning Folk and Familiar Spirits by Emma Wilby, which is about British magic and witchcraft and folklore and that sort of thing. So I'm curious about this one. I've heard things about it in other videos. I think it may or may not have been Hearthwitch who mentioned this one. It may have been somebody else, but I can't recall at the moment. Anyway, it's come up in a couple of YouTube videos that I've watched, and so I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And it's a little bit hit and miss to try and find a copy, so I was happy to have found one. And yeah, deals with like familiar spirits and spirits generally, I think, and folkloric roots of familiar lore in early modern Britain. Yep, that sounds interesting to me. So I'm looking forward to that one. It will go on my it'll take a while to get to its shelf. And then I got The Zen Path Through Depression, because I have 25 years worth of experience with depression at this point. And as you know from the previous books, I'm interested in Buddhism, so I thought I'll give that one a go. And then this one. I haven't read any of his books yet. And I know the fifth one, I've got the first two, and then I think the fifth one, which is a witchy one, and this is the fourth one. So I thought maybe I'll get the first like 5. They were very cheap at a used bookstore. So if I get the first few and then I really like the first one, then I can keep reading them. There are about 1 million of them altogether, so that'll be fun. Okay, and then the books that I ordered. So I got Rifka by Mohammed Al-Kurd. He's a Palestinian poet, and I'd heard of him before via Pay No Heed to the Rockets by Marcello Di Cintio, which I'd talked about in the video I made a few weeks back, or a couple weeks back, I can't remember at this point, about the books I've read about Israel and Palestine. And Di Cintio had talked to quite a lot of Palestinian authors, and this was one of them. And he's just a young, up-and-coming sort of author. He was, at the time that the other book was written, he was a grad student, I think, in the US, studying creative writing or poetry or something along those lines. And yeah, and he's Palestinian, and I wanted to read more books by Palestinian authors, because I've got some books about Palestine, but a lot of them are by American or English authors, or books I've read are American and English. So I haven't read this yet, but I've heard good things about him, and I follow him on Instagram. And so I thought I'd give it a go. And if I like this, I think he's got a few others as well. So yeah, I don't usually get poetry, but he came highly recommended in Pay No Heed to the Rockets. So I thought I'll try that one. And then I got this book. This is a new one that I'd ordered, pre-ordered, called When Religion Hurts You, Healing from Religious Trauma and the Impact of High Control Religion. I follow her on Instagram as well, and Laura Anderson. And yeah, because I grew up in a fundamentalist community of bonkers people. Just absolutely way too extreme for me. And it does, I mean, the brainwashing is special. So that'll be a good one. Probably will read that next month. It'll be like high up on my list of priorities. This is one I probably won't read cover to cover, and I've ordered another one of his, of wild, medicinal wild plants, I think. This is edible wild plants of the prairie, an ethnobotanical guide. And he is an ethnobotanist down in like Kansas or something, I think. Yeah, University of Kansas. So a lot of these plants are from a bit further south than me, but a lot of them are from around here. And I probably will never read this cover to cover, but ooh, service berries. Love a Saskatoon berry. Beautiful. Now I just want Saskatoon berries. But I will probably use it for reference. It's the first book I found that has Blackfoot uses for plants. Now, I don't know where he always gets his information. Sometimes he has his sources, and he is an academic, so it seems to be a fairly well-cited book. He's got a literature cited section, glossary, all sorts of things. So that'll be interesting to dig into, because I've never been able to find a Blackfoot or Siksikatsitapi herbal, like by an actual Blackfoot person. And I would love to, but I don't know if one exists, or if it tends to be an oral tradition and you have to be part of their community. But the reason I'm interested in is because this is the land where I live now, which is not on the map because it's a very American-centered book, but this up here is Alberta and Saskatchewan in Canada, and that's where I'm from. So the land that I'm on, like my ancestral traditions are European, mostly Celtic and Norse, but with a little bit of Germanic and French and miscellaneous thrown in for good measure. But the land where I live is Alberta and Saskatchewan, so it makes sense to me to learn more about what Indigenous people have used these plants for, and the sort of relationships they've had with the land here, and just to get to know it better. And so, yeah, I found a Nehiaw or Cree herbal, and an Anishinaabe or Ojibwe herbal, and those are the closest to where I live. There's some other Indigenous herbals I found, and a Métis one as well. And those are the closest to where I live, but they're still not quite exactly where I live, whereas the Blackfoot territory is exactly where I live, and well, Cree as well in Saskatchewan, but Blackfoot in Alberta. And so if I could find a Blackfoot or Nakota herbal or Tsutina, that would be fascinating. But since I haven't been able to find anything by an Indigenous author so far, this is the closest I've been able to find by an ethnobotanist. And it's, you know, it's in a post-ethics committee world that he has published this, so hopefully ethics were involved in some way, which I do know they haven't always been when it comes to anthropology and First Nations people. So I'm a bit cautious about that with older ethnobotany books, because you never know how the information was gathered, whether some of it was supposed to be written down, whether some of it was supposed to be told with certain stories. There are all sorts of contextual things that you don't always know, and some early anthropologists just took information and didn't really respect the ways in which that information was supposed to be handled and cared for. And so, yeah, I'm always a bit wary of that. But this one with the wild roses on the cover, I think those are wild roses. I love that I found it, because it's the closest I found to the area where I live. The other new book that's just come out that I pre-ordered is The Green Witch's Guide to Herbal Magic by Annabelle Margaret, or The Green Witch, on YouTube, and I love her YouTube channel. It's gorgeous. It's absolutely stunning, and her information is always very good and thorough. And so even though I'm not a beginner, I thought I will see what she has to say, because I respect her work, and she always seems very thorough and well researched and everything. So I haven't read this one yet because I just got it. And she does these little line drawings too, which are super cute. She does more of them on Patreon. So yeah, that's this one. bibliography. Lovely. Love a bibliography. This is the About the Author page. If you have never watched her videos, you should. They're absolutely stunningly beautiful. Like, the cinematography alone is beautiful, but also her herbalism work is lovely, and she's got some very good recipes of things you can make on her channel, and just lots of information about plants. And I'm a plants person, unsurprisingly. On which note, I mentioned these in my last crafty projects video, but I got 2 crafty books about plants because I'm a geek. This is 20 Flowers to Crochet. I'd pre-ordered this one. It's just come out. It's just this cute little, this is the page it opens to because this was the one I was working on. But it's got like poppies, lilies, other plants I'm not really familiar with. Sweet peas, those are adorable. I will be making those. Daffodils, daisies, I will be making those. Poinsettias. I will probably make most of these. There's a rose. Like, it's just, they're so cute. Really cute. The instructions are pretty good, except they're in UK crochet shorthand, but she does have she or whomever, Sarah Jane Hicks does have a UK to US conversion, so triple crochet or triple crochet in the UK parlance is a double crochet. In the US, which is what I'm used to in Canada, I think most Canadian patterns are probably in US lingo. So that was a tiny bit of a struggle, but not an impossible one. So once you sort of get the hang of it, it's fine. Dahlias, those are cute. So yeah, I will be making those on and off probably from now until the spring. And then this is Plant Lady Embroidery, 300 botanical embroidery motifs and designs to stitch. They've also got, fun fact, Cat Lady Embroidery and I Love My Dog Embroidery, and a few other sort of more general books. But this is amazing. They've got all sorts of plants I would not have expected. So orchids, spring flowers, silverberries in here. Like, did I expect them to even know what silverberry was? No, I didn't, but it's in here and I'm very happy about it. They've got thistles in here. They've got all sorts of things. It's super fun. Lilac, I'll be trying that at some point. It's got so many options. So many options. And I'm very excited about this. Which is not to say I'm very good at embroidery yet. I'm very, very bad at it. But that's a fun sort of inspiration book, I'll say. Now, at the used bookstore, where I got a lot of these books, they have a tarot section now, which is wild, but super fun. So I got a couple because they were cheap. Much cheaper than they would be new, even though they're mass market. So one of them is the Runic Tarot. I don't have the box with me, but it came in the box with this book, and I've edged it in black already because that's just what it needed. White didn't suit it at all. And so I've watched a few walkthroughs about this. I'm not very knowledgeable about the runes, but I like Norse folklore and a little bit of the mythology. I tend to lean more towards the sort of ordinary people folklore rather than gods and goddesses mythology, but I do like the mythology from Scandinavia as well, so that'll be fun. Not really sure what I'll do with that yet, but I do have a couple set of runes, one I made out of rocks that I've found for each particular rune. So I may learn more about those one of these days. The other one that I got from the used bookstore is this Ziegler's version of Tarot, Mirror of the Soul. So it comes with this handbook that he wrote, which seems very thorough, And I've got it like this because somebody had used quite a lot of incense. So it smells to high heaven, so I'm letting it air out a bit so it doesn't smell quite so strongly. Yeah, and I'd been debating getting a Thoth tarot. And because I'd listened to Fortune's Wheelhouse, which is a phenomenal podcast, and read Tarot Deciphered. And they're amazing authors, M.M. Moline and T. Susan Chang. And so I debated getting this, and then just hadn't. And there it was for pretty cheap at the used bookstore, complete with the Ziegler handbook. So I thought, well, why not? I'll give it a go. The other decks that I ordered that are new, well, these are new to me. So I ordered a couple of these from, I think it was Fairlight Tarot who I heard about these on. These are technically D&D cards, which I don't play. Maybe I should, but I don't. But there's a website called Shadow Myths, and they have these story decks. So this one is Darkness, and this one is Awareness. And it's pretty intense, but they look like oil paintings or something. But like, it's so intriguing, and they weren't terribly expensive compared to most Oracle decks. And I got the playing card deck size because I don't need this on a giant Oracle deck size. But like, that's just, I'm not sure what's happening there, but it's intense, whatever it is. So I got a couple of these, and I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with them yet, but I just was too intrigued and had to give them a go. This probably will not keep them in these little plastic boxes because they're annoying as I'll get out to open. This is the Awareness one, which is very similar but a slightly different tone of colors. Yeah, so these are the Shadow Myths story decks that I got. These came in each of them. They're just the instructions of how to use them, whether you're using them for D&D or anything else. And then the other, this one is the Night Wait Tarot deck, which I think just came out because I just got it, and I think I'd pre-ordered it because I'm really into collage decks at the moment. And it's still, I think it's still in order, yeah. But it was just so intriguing. And there's Pamela Coleman Smith. And I don't know who everybody is. I've watched a couple flip throughs and just started writing down who certain of the people were. So the author does feature in here about 3 times, I think. So I'm not sure it's super important to know who these people are. It's not like the one tarot where who that person was really informs the card, or maybe it does because Oscar Wilde is the King of Swords. I don't know. But I don't really want to spend $25 on the big guidebook just for that, because the rest of the guidebook I don't feel like I need, because it's just general tarot information. So if there was just a list of who's who, that would be lovely. I think that's W.E.B. Du Bois. I always want to say it the French way, but I don't think he actually pronounced it the French way. There are a few lover card options, which are fun. And it's intriguing. So I thought, since I'm into collage at the moment, I'd give it a go. It's not super expensive. That's the author, or the deck creator, who I think is an astrologist or something. I don't know. I'm not really into astrology, so don't know much about that. But yeah, it's just like, that's interesting. It's got a little Peter Pan vibe going for half a second and then not so much. So yeah, this might be, I don't know that I'll use this right away. It might just go on my shelf for a bit because I'm busy at the moment with other things. But yeah, it's fun. I've looked through it once already, and it's intriguing. I like it. Do wish I knew who the people were, but oh well. And then the last thing, finally, that I've got is, and this I saw on, I want to say Marlena Teresa's channel. And this is the Abyssal Tarot. It's a photography deck by Shelley Corbett and Stephen Album. And it is, so this is, I think, art cardstock, so they advise not to riffle shuffle it because you will bend it. And it does feel very easily creasable. But it's got these really, I don't know if this will focus on it, just a little bit. Infinite Jest is the Fool, and I have not read Infinite Jest, but that's fun. These are all, I think the photos were all taken underwater, if I'm not mistaken. And so the Magician says immediate family. And so I'm not quite sure what that means. I think this will be a sometime in the dead of winter to just sit down and have a think about. Look at these images and then the keywords. Blue Autumn Glory for the Empress. See, that's just curious. So yeah, it's a really intriguing deck and really bizarre, and everything looks slightly out of focus, but I think that's because it's underwater. Buttery Violins for the lovers. So yeah, it seems it's a very, I guess I would say sensual sort of deck, but it's also a bit odd. It's a bit curious. But it's very intense, and it's very, as you can see from the Devil card, very colorful, like bold. Even though it's blurry, it's bold. I don't know. It's interesting. Also, there's nudity in it. Apologies. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I don't even know if this is a deck I'd use as an actual tarot deck or just like an art card. Pull a card. Look at the art. Dive into it. Absolutely modern for the Four of Cups. And then just sit and ponder it for a while. That might be the thing with this one. So anyway, that's finally the end of this extra things video. So that now I can clean up my living room, which is very exciting, and put all this stuff away. So if you've made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.